Honestly, it seems like you were being a bit of a curmudgeon at the wedding. I'm going to be honest. And I don't even like weddings. And I certainly don't like having to make small talk with people that I don't know. Two of my least favorite things. That being said, like, it's not your fucking day. Just suck it up and go. Jesus Christ.
You don't have
Welcome to Guys We
Hello, fuckers. Where you been? How you doing? Did you drink enough water today? Welcome to another episode of Guys We Fucked.
It's the anti-slut shaming podcast. I'm Corinne Fisher.
I'm Krystyna Hutchinson.
Welcome to the show. If you are in the Pacific Northwest, listen up. Eye of the Tiger Tour is headed to you next. Let's go through the dates, and my phone is charging, so I'm going to do it from my memory. Portland, Oregon, May 14th. San Francisco, May 15th. Sacramento, May 16th. Seattle, Washington, May 17th. Shows are basically sold out, so we added a date, Saturday, May 18th. There are 2 additional new shows there for Seattle. And then moving forward to June, let's see what date, late June, guys. I'm going to be in Houston, Texas, and Austin, Texas. So make sure to get those tickets now. That's coming along, sooner than we think it is.
There you go.
Thank you, Krystyna. And so it's June 27th is Houston, and then June 28th and 29th is Austin, Texas, and September 26th is Salt Lake City, Utah. Tickets at CorinneFisher.com. All shows feature Chloe LaBranch. See you there. Exclusive merch, fun times, meet and greets. We love it.
Woohoo. If you want to email us, it's sorryaboutlastnightshow@gmail.com. Today's subject line, is it the ick or am I incapable of intimacy? 2 very different options.
Could be somewhere in the middle, you know.
Dear Corinne and Krystyna. Oh, they spelled my name wrong for once. That's cute.
Nice.
I am recently a new fucker. I can't believe it took me so long to find your show. I fucking love it. I'm a 38-year-old female. Nice. I have been single for over 7 years, and a few months ago, for the first time in all of those years, started dating a guy who I could finally get excited about and was ticking a lot of boxes. He's emotionally available, sick, communicative, hell yeah, looking for a partner as well. That's a great one.
That's a good, important one.
That's a real important one, and has a lot of other lifestyle qualities that match up with what I've been looking for. We have known each other for a long time, 8 or 9 years. Ooh, that's cool too. And we actually had a brief romance about 8 years ago, just before I got together with my last boyfriend. So a few months ago, we got together and went out on a couple of dates, and the spark seemed to have reignited, so we jumped right into dating a little faster than I really wanted to. I think this was partially because we had already had some history and trust between us, and also because we both had large vacations coming up that we knew we wouldn't be seeing each other for a while. So we had 2 hot weeks together. Then we went on holiday for a month, and when he got back, we got another 2 hot weeks together, and then I went on holiday for a month. Yo, y'all be going on holidays for a month? Talk about a reset. That sounds great. While we were each away, respectively, we were sending a lot of messages back and forth, especially him. He sent tons of pictures, and during both the holiday times, I definitely got a bit tired of all the messaging. I found it to be a bit tedious towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. About a week after I got back from my time away, we had made plans to hang out, and we ended up going to his friends and had an afternoon/evening of doing things that I really didn't want to do. That night, I was annoyed and didn't want to have sex with him. That's what happens when you do a day of shit you don't want to do. I felt the ick started to creep in, but also was aware of the fact that being in a relationship means sometimes doing things that you don't want to do. So I thought I'll get over it. Then the following Saturday, we went to the wedding of one of his best friends. He had invited me to this wedding when I was away and got excited because I usually love weddings. In hindsight, I feel like I should not have gone because I had never been to a wedding as a +1. Oh, wow. And didn't really think about how hard it would be not knowing anyone. That's true. And having to attempt to make conversation with strangers. I should also mention that I live in Spain. He is Spanish, and my Spanish is good, but not excellent, which makes chatting to strangers even harder. So I did not have fun at the wedding. I did my best to smile and not be the grumpy bitch in the corner. Good for you. But I kind of was. He introduced me around and tried to make me feel comfortable, but ultimately I left the party earlier than planned and went home on my own. Ever since I got back from my holidays, I just been feeling like he is too much. Too much texting, too much PDA. He kisses me a lot while we're out and about, even in front of his friends. Too many gifts. Ugh, what a monster.
Well, it seems like he's from Spain and you're from, where are you from? Like England or something?
England or Australia, where it's not as like, my love.
Yeah, the culture is different. There's a culture problem here.
Yeah. And so what you're seeing as too much, his culture probably is like, this is what you do when you love someone or like someone. Too many gifts. He's given me 3 little gifts in the past couple weeks. I've been back, including a ring right before he went to the wedding. That's a weird gift. He joked about us being the next ones to get married. Okay. Once just to me, but also to the groom at the wedding, which really freaked me out. Sometimes guys be saying that though, you know? Sometimes a guy said that once and then he didn't mean it, but I wanted him to, but he didn't mean it. So maybe, who knows? So we talked about all this the other day and I told him that it all felt a bit too much and I need to slow down. And when I said that, he asked me if I wanted to slow down or if I'm just not interested. And I didn't know how to answer. I really don't want to string him or myself along. And it is important to me to be honest and able to say how I feel, but I'm just not sure. I have done a lot of reading and work on myself, especially in the arena of dating and my intimacy issues in the last few years. So I can sometimes get way too analytical about these things and overthink to the point of exhaustion. I am afraid I have gotten so accustomed to being single that I don't know how to let people in.
Yeah.
Okay, totally.
Yeah.
But also, like just having to worry about yourself, it's nice. It's nice. But also I'm thinking that maybe this guy is just too intense for me. It has made me really sad thinking that it might not work out in the end because I think I put a lot of pressure on it since it has been so long since I've dated a nice guy. It turns out I used to have really low self-esteem and dated assholes in my 20s. Yeah, welcome to womanhood. Also, since the ick started to creep in, I have been focusing more on his qualities that I don't like, such as the physical attraction. He is shorter than I am, which is not a deal breaker, but he also just has a really small frame and is skinny, so I feel big around him, and I'm not big. I'm kind of a skinny bitch. He works very long days and often doesn't get time for lunch, and his eating and sleeping habits are super irregular. So ultimately, he doesn't really take great care of his physical body, which is likely why I am not so attracted to his physical body. Okay, well, that's a big one. If you're not attracted to his physical body, that's not a good recipe for a relationship. The sex is great, but I'm finding myself now not getting excited to sleep with him. And I know that 3 months in is too soon to have already lost desire to sleep with a man. So I guess what I'm wondering is if I just jumped in too soon and this isn't the right guy, or if I'm still too guarded to let a man in. Any insight would be much appreciated. Sincerely, another dumb bitch.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. I think it's completely normal for you to like get turned off by somebody who's more like you're interpreting his PDA, his gifts as maybe neediness, neediness is and I can be a needy person, but like when I sense the neediness in another, I'm like, it's like repellent. I can't, I hate it. So maybe interpreting it like that is the issue here. It doesn't seem like he's doing anything. He doesn't have to do anything royally bad or fucked up or have like a fucked up eye for you to go, you know what? No, you could just not like him anymore.
Yeah. And also I think like the things that you're describing, like, if you're getting like if I got 3 small gifts from someone I was kind of about, it would probably turn me off. Whereas if I was already really excited about a guy and I got 3 small gifts from him, it would make me like him more.
Yeah.
So I think that's just kind of like telling you what it is, right? Like I think you guys are mismatched, but I totally understand. Like when the longer you stay single, the longer you realize like how good and easy and peaceful it is to be alone, right? I mean, I can't even remember the last time I was in a fight, you know? And that's because
crazy.
of being single. And it's nice, but you know, you just have to, it's like, what do you want? Like, so single, you're always going to have this kind of like pretty like steady medium that you're always like leveling at, like a steady happiness. Whereas when I think you're involved in relationships, you'll get more high highs but more low lows. So it's just like which of those do you want? You know, sometimes you want to feel the high highs, and I don't even mind the low lows sometimes. And there are certainly, you know, low lows in regular life too, but it's mostly when someone dies or like you get fired or something like that, your dreams don't come true. A little excessive.
That's pretty low. Yeah.
Whereas in a relationship, like little fights and stuff can turn into
The way
low lows.
he said something fucked up your day.
Like that's actually not in the big scheme of things important, but when you're in a relationship, things get put under a magnifying glass, right? So I think you have acknowledged that you have been on your own too long. So like if you have decided that you're ready to be in a relationship, you have to really enter it fully and don't be the fuck boy that has fucked you over so many times, because girls can be fuck boys just the same as guys can be fuck boys.
It's true.
So you don't want to do that to other people. Again, I think you're mismatched. I also think in some things, like you got to ease up. Like, okay, so like it's the first couple of months, like he takes you to a wedding. You don't speak the language. Honestly, it seems like you were being a bit of a curmudgeon at the wedding. I'm going to be honest. And I don't even like weddings, and I don't like, and I certainly don't like having to make small talk with people that I don't know. Two of my least favorite things. That being said, like, it's not your fucking day. Just suck it up and go. Jesus Christ.
You don't have to have the most fun at every single thing you do.
It's not your wedding.
Right. And I, as somebody who like tries to have the most fun all the time as much as I possibly can, like that's just a scenario where you like just be curious and like look at people and make observations and I don't know, like have a good, you can 100% have a a good time. That's that scenario.
Yeah, try new foods.
Yeah,
find one person that you like. Honestly, a lot of times my go-to is if there's kids, I hang out with the kids, which as a woman you have the luxury of doing without looking creepy.
Won't be creepy.
And because kids are, they don't have to speak your language. They can always be refreshing and fun and playful. So I'll like a lot of times at events just go and sit at the kids table and I have a grand old time because they're not bringing their bullshit. They're not getting drunk. None of that shit. So I mean, like, and these things go with being in a relationship, right? If it is just nails down a chalkboard to spend one afternoon at a wedding for someone you don't know, which I totally get that. Yeah, like relationships aren't for you, and that's again price of admission. Okay. Or you could just find someone who kind of sees relationships in the way you do. There are people like that. One of my good friends is date someone who's like that, I'm always like, oh man, this is like the ideal relationship for me because they spend a lot of time apart. They do a lot of things separately. They have different friend groups. Like it's my ideal relationship structure, but they've been together for a really long time and they really do love each other, So I think there's a variety of reasons this doesn't work out. I don't think this person is the right fit for you based on your personality. But I also think you have to like have a serious conversation with yourself. Like, do you really want to be in a relationship, or were you just a little lonely and you met someone who you wanted to like fucking like who pay attention for you for a little while? Yeah. Like which one was it?
No one hates that.
Yeah. And that's fine.
Yeah. Totally. But like your first time like going back out into the dating scene, you just are in a relationship. Like that's also, you didn't really date yet.
Yeah.
So try dating.
Yeah. Try dating.
And try group therapy on my patreon.com/Krystyna Hutchinson. And I have a solo podcast called The Voices in Our Heads, where each week I talk about stuff that's happening and revelations in my life and the trauma stuff and all kinds of stuff. And then I read a book that has changed the way I think. And this month I'm getting into The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. That fucking book about self-sabotage. It is... Oh God! I had somebody DM me like, I just listened to your first episode on it, and like, every sentence punched me in the stomach. I'm like, that's what she do. That's what Brianna Wiest does.
We love Brianna.
It's crazy. Like she gets to the point. Like words are so powerful, and when you witness somebody who writes them in such a good way, you're like, fuck, I forgot that words can be so poignant and really potent and really kind of seep into your psyche in a way that I've been trying to conquer this self-sabotaging shit for a long time. And then when you realize like it's just a response to something and it's actually totally normal, you're like, oh, okay, I don't got to do a pile on? Hell yeah. So Voices in Our Heads comes out every Monday wherever you get your podcasts. And then patreon.com/Krystyna Hutchinson if you want to chat once a week on Zoom as group therapy. And I also do the bonus readings from the book on that as well.
And if you want to hear more of me, you can check out my podcast, Without a Country. It's available everywhere you listen to podcasts, including Luminary. And then, of course, full video on YouTube comes out on Wednesdays. We've been talking a lot about college campus protesting that's been going on all over the United States. Pro-Palestine and then counter protests as well. And kind of we've been looking into the origin of college campus protesting and also the change that college campus protests have actually invoked over the years. It's actually a really powerful form of protest. I've been talking about that a lot. And we also usually have a segment called Cuties Corner, which is about animal welfare or abuse or something going extinct. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. A lot of times it's negative because it's funny to call it Cuties Corner. And then, of course, my favorite part of the show, which is Corinne Fisher's party topic of the week, where I tell you something just terrible that you can share at a party to ruin it, because that is my energy. This week we talked about how a judge ruled that in India, marital rape is still legal.
Cute.
So you know what? Could be worse, everybody.
Cute.
Yeah, and that is that. Of course, see me at on the Eye of the Tiger tour, as I said, upcoming Portland, San Francisco, Sacramento, Seattle, Austin, Houston, and Salt Lake City. And the tickets are at CorinneFisher.com.
Hell yeah.
My family's MO, they love to send just the most lighthearted things to the group chat. This was actually on a group email, which is why I just had trouble finding it. But my mom emailed to me and my brother this opinion guest essay from the New York Times that I wanted to share with you guys, called "The Troubling Trend in Teenage Sex." So Debbie Herbenik is one of the foremost researchers on American sexual behavior, the director of the Center for Sexual Health Promotion at Indiana University, and the author of the pointedly titled book, Yes, Your Kid. She usually shares her data no matter how explicit, without judgment. So I was surprised by how concerned she seemed when we checked in on Zoom recently. I haven't often felt so strongly about getting research out there, she told me, but this is life-saving. For the past 4 years, Dr. Herbenik has been tracking the rapid rise of rough sex among college students, particularly sexual strangulation, or what is colloquially referred to as choking. Nearly 2/3 of women in her most recent campus representative survey of 5,000 students at an anonymized major Midwestern university said a partner had choked them during sex, 1/3 in their most recent encounter. The rate of those women who said they were between the ages of 12 and 17 the first time that happened had shot up to 40% from 1 in 4. As someone who's been writing for well over a decade about young people's attitudes and early experience with sex in all its forms, I'd also begun clocking this phenomenon. I was initially startled in early 2020 when, during a post-talk Q&A at an independent high school, a 16-year-old girl asked, "How come boys all want to choke you?" In a different class, a 15-year-old boy wanted to know, "Why do girls all want to be choked?" They do? Not long after, a college sophomore and longtime interview subject contacted me after her roommate came home in tears because a hookup partner, without warning, had put both hands on her throat and squeezed. I started to ask more, and the stories piled up. Another sophomore confided that she enjoyed being choked by her boyfriend, though it was important for a partner to be properly educated, pressing on the sides of the neck, for example, rather than the trachea. Note, there is no safe way to strangle someone. A male
True.
New York Times, you've done
Happy
it again.
Valentine's Day.
A male freshman said, quote, "Girls expected to be choked, and even though he didn't want to do it, refusing would make him seem like a, quote, simp." Someone who listens to Legion of Skanks.
Pussy ass bitch.
And a senior in high school was angry that her friends called her vanilla when she complained that her boyfriend had choked her.
Jesus.
Sexual strangulation, nearly always of women in heterosexual pornography, has long been a staple on free sites, those default sources of sex ed for teens. As with anything else, repeat exposure can render the once appalling appealing. It's not uncommon for behaviors to be normalized in porn, move within a few years to mainstream media, then in what may become a feedback loop, be adopted in the bedroom or the dorm room. Choking, Dr. Herbenik said, seems to have made that first leap in a 2008 episode of Showtime's Californication. God, I love that show.
Love that show.
Where it was still depicted
David.
as outre, I forget this word, then accelerated after the success of 50 Shades of Grey. By 2019, when a high school girl was choked in the pilot of HBO's Euphoria, it was standard fare. A young woman was choked in the opener of The Idol, again on HBO, and also like Euphoria, created by Sam Levinson. What's with him? I have some theories. Ali Wong plays the proclivity for laughs in a Netflix special, and it's a punchline in Tina Fey's new Mean Girls. The chorus of Jack Harlow's Lovin' on Me, which topped Billboard's Hot 100 chart for 6 non-consecutive weeks this winter and has been viewed over 99 million times on YouTube, starts with, "I'm vanilla, baby, I'll choke you, but I ain't no killer, baby." How to... I actually have heard that song so many times, and I never knew that was the lyric. I knew the Vanilla Baby lyric, and I knew the "Ain't No Killer," but I guess I didn't hear the choking part. And now all piecing it together. Wow, I was just bopping. Yeah. How-to articles abound on the internet, and social media algorithms feed young people, but typically not their unsuspecting parents, hundreds of hashtag choke me daddy memes, along with memes that mock, even celebrate the potential for hurting or killing female partners. I mean, no surprise there. Don't you love being a woman on the internet? I'm not here to kink shame or anything shame. And anyway, many experienced BDSM practitioners discourage choking, believing it to be too dangerous.
Yeah.
There are still relatively few studies on the subject, and most have been done by Dr. Herbenick and her colleagues. Reports among adolescents are now trickling out from the United Kingdom, Australia, Iceland, New Zealand, and Italy. 20 years ago,
Shit, dude.
Sexual asphyxiation appears to have been unusual among any demographic, let alone young people who were new to sex and iffy at communication. That's changed radically in a short time, with health consequences that parents, educators, medical professionals, sexual consent advocates, and teens themselves urgently need to understand. Sexual trends can spread quickly on campus and to an extent in every direction. But at least among straight kids, I've sometimes noticed a pattern. Those that involve basic physical gratification, like receiving oral sex and hookups, tend to favor men. Those that might entail pain or submission, like choking, are generally more for women. It's a girl's thing. So, well,
girls love getting hurt.
We
emotionally
love getting hurt.
And physically.
Yes.
Break my heart, daddy.
So while undergrads of all genders and sexualities in Dr. Herbenick's surveys report both choking and being choked, straight and bisexual young women are far more likely to have been the subjects of the behavior. Woo. The gap widens with greater occurrences. In a separate study, Dr. Herbenick and her colleagues found the behavior repeated across the United States, particularly for adults under 40 and not just among college students. Alcohol may well be involved, and while the act is often engaged in with a steady partner, a quarter of young women said partners they'd had sex with on the day they'd met also choked them. Either way, most say that their partners never or only sometimes asked before grabbing their necks. Ooh. For many, there had been moments when they couldn't breathe or speak, compromising the ability to withdraw consent if they'd given it.
That's assault, baby.
No wonder that in a separate study by Dr. Herbenick, choking was among the most frequently listed sex acts young women said had scared them. And I gotta say, when I think about like my friends and like the one thing on their no list, I have some women who, when you bring up choking, like you see fear in their eyes. Aww. I actually really like choking, and I don't like when someone asks, can they choke me? But these are people who I have like an understanding with.
This
is not,
choking is not for the I just met you. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. This is, and like, yes, please start out like not with all your might. You basically, you feel it out by going near the neck area. If you're not doing a verbal consent, you're lightly starting to apply pressure to the sides of the neck, and certainly, not on the fucking front. When people lean on the front, oh my God,
that's how people die.
And they don't know what you're doing. I think men a lot of times when you're having heterosexual sex don't realize how heavy the weight of them on your chest is.
Yeah.
Like that's like the most weight I've ever had on top of me as a man. All right, so reporting that it sometimes made them worry whether they'd survive. Among girls and women I've spoken with, many did not want or like to be sexually strangled, though in an otherwise desired encounter, they didn't name it as assault. Still, a sizable number were enthusiastic. They requested it. It is exciting to feel so vulnerable, a college junior explained. I also don't remember choking in college. Yeah. I mean, I had the same boyfriend for like all of college and a little after. We did a lot of things. I can't remember if we did choking. Also, it doesn't really seem like just knowing him, it's not really his energy.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I can't remember. Let's see. The power dynamic turns her on. Oxygen deprivation to the brain can trigger euphoria. That same young woman, incidentally, had never climaxed with a partner. While the prevalence of choking has skyrocketed, rates of orgasm among young women have not increased, nor has the orgasm gap disappeared among heterosexual couples.
They haven't met our guest yet.
It indicates they're not doing other things to enhance female arousal or pleasure, Dr. Herbenek said. When, for instance, she asked one male student who said he choked his partner whether he'd ever tried using a vibrator. Instead, he recoiled. "Why would I do that?" he asked. Perhaps, she responded, because it would be more likely to produce orgasm without risking, death. And when I think about choking, I mean, there is a little bit of like, I certainly sometimes when I masturbate alone hold my breath, which we've talked about through breathing through the orgasm.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, I'm not going to like, I guess there is like a correlation a little bit, but like, rubbing my clit is certainly a much easier way to make me orgasm than choking me. The choking is just like a little add-on, you know?
And it can only be done, like people who like choking, it can only be done with a certain person who has a certain skill level, who you have a certain level of trust with, man.
If the girl looks scared, you have to stop. And if the girl looking scared makes you like it more, go to therapy.
You're a sociopath that needs help.
In my interviews, college students have seen male orgasm as a given. Women's is nice if it happens, but certainly not expected or necessarily prioritized by either partner. Oh, they haven't met Corinne.
That's a bummer.
They have not met Corinne Fisher yet. It's prioritized. So it makes sense then that fulfillment would be, I've told people they're not leaving the room, which I guess is a different form of harassment. It makes sense then that fulfillment would be less the motivator for choking than appearing adventurous or kinky. Such performances don't always feel good. Personally, my hypothesis is that this is one of the reasons young people are delaying or having less sex, Dr. Herbenek said. Because it's uncomfortable and weird and scary. At times, some of them literally think someone is assaulting them, but they don't know. Those are the only sexual experiences for some people. And it's not just once they've gotten naked. They'll say things like, "I've only tried to make out with someone once because he started choking and hitting me." Kisuka Kawata, a neuroscientist at Indiana University's School of Public Health, was one of the first researchers to sound the alarm on how the cumulative, seemingly inconsequential subconcussive hits football players sustain, as opposed to the occasional hard blow, were key to triggering CTE, the degenerative brain disease. He's a good judge of serious threats to the brain. In response to Dr. Herbenek's work, he's turning his attention to sexual strangulation. Ooh. I see a similarity to CTE, he told me.
Shut the fuck up.
Though the mechanism of injury is very different. In this case, it is oxygen blocking pressure to the throat, frequently in light repeated bursts of a few seconds each. And listen, if you want to talk about what happens when the oxygen starts hitting your brain, you could talk to me about my dad in hospice all day long, and he didn't get that from sexual strangulation. Although
he didn't.
Wish that on you, Dad.
Yeah,
strangulation, sexual or otherwise, often leaves few visible marks and can be easily overlooked as a cause of death. Those whose experiences are non-lethal rarely seek medical attention because any injuries seem minor. Young women Dr. Herbenek studied mostly reported lightheadedness, headaches, neck pain, temporary loss of coordination, and ear ringing. I've certainly had lightheadedness from choking. The symptoms resolve and all seems well. But as with those NFL players, the true effects are silent, potentially not showing up for days, weeks, even years. According to the American Academy of Neurology, restricting blood flow to the brain, even briefly, can cause permanent injury, including stroke and cognitive impairment. In MRIs conducted by Dr. Kawata and his colleagues, including Dr. Herbenek, who is a co-author of his papers on strangulation, undergraduate women who have been repeatedly choked show a reduction in cortical folding in the brain compared with a never choked control group.
Oh my God.
That's just so funny.
Oh my God.
I'm in the never choked control group. They also showed widespread cortical thickening and inflammation response that is associated with elevated risk of later onset mental illness. In completing simple memory tasks, their brains had to work far harder than the control group, recruiting from more regions to achieve the same level of accuracy.
It was just for a couple seconds of not oxygen?
Yeah, this is so bad.
But wait, what? I do breath work where you have to hold your breath for a certain amount of time. Like, does that fuck you up? That's crazy.
I don't know.
That's such a thing that no one would.
We're going to have to ask Dr. Herbenek, I guess.
Fuck. That's exactly it. You have to hold your breath for 1.5 to 2 minutes. But there's no pressure on your trachea. But I'm like, is holding your breath bad?
I don't know.
Fuck.
The
I gotta stop doing that.
The hemispheres in the choked group's brains too were badly skewed, with the right side hyperactive and the left underperforming. A similar imbalance is associated with mood disorders. And indeed, in Dr. Herbernick's survey, girls and women who had been choked were more likely than others, or choked men, to have experienced overwhelming anxiety as well as sadness and loneliness, with the effect more pronounced as the incident rose. Women who had experienced more than 5 instances of choking were 2.5 times as likely, I'm so fucked, as those who had never been choked to say that they had been so depressed within the previous 30 days they couldn't function. Whether girls and women with mental health challenges are more likely to seek out or be subjected to choking, sad girls, choking causes mood disorders or some combination of the two is still unclear.
Okay.
But hypoxia or oxygen deprivation, judging by what research has shown about other types of traumatic brain injury, could be a contributing factor. Giving the...
Dude, that makes the Wim Hof technique so lethal then. That's crazy. You literally hold your breath for at 1.3 minutes.
Maybe that's why he may... Oh, I don't know.
I do it for cognitive function.
Right, no, I know.
And to Jesus, this is interesting.
Given the soaring rates of depression and anxiety, and also, I mean, a little insight to why I am the way I am. This is the group chat for the Fisher family. Jesus fuck.
I forget that is not normal. Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah. What is going? No wonder I'm not lighthearted.
Corinne, you're gonna want to talk about this on
no
your podcast.
No wonder she's not the Jewish one, but yeah, no wonder.
Right. I know it's not what she sounds like.
She's from Jersey City, though. Given the soaring rates of depression and anxiety among young women, that warrants concern. Now, consider that every year Dr. Herbernick has done her survey, the number of females reporting extreme effects from strangulation, neck swelling, loss of consciousness, losing control of urinary function has crept up. Among those who have been choked, the rate of becoming what students call cloudy, close to passing out but not crossing the line, is now 1 in 5, a huge proportion. Yeah, for sure. I've been cloudy.
Jesus, really?
All of this indicates partners are pressing on necks longer and harder. The physical, cognitive, and psychological impacts of sexual choking are disturbing. So is the idea that at a time when women's social, economic, educational, and political power are in ascent.
It's getting choked out of us.
I know. I was like, just let me get choked in peace.
Win.
Let me get choked in peace.
Can't have your paycheck and get choked too, baby.
Sometimes you need to get choked out to not think about all the things on your goddamn to-do list.
Yeah.
Even if some of those rights may be in jeopardy. When #MeToo has made progress against harassment and assault, there has been the popularization of a sex act that can damage our brains. I like that her point at the end of it is like, it's all part of the patriarchal scheme. And I was like, I don't know that I agree with this part of it.
I think that young men are watching porn every day, and they're just emulating it.
I also think I think maybe more so than it's like there's like a lot of irony in this. I think is what we're saying.
Yes.
There has been
We've worked so hard to get those rights.
Exactly. It's been literally fucking our
can't
choked out of us.
We're drooling and pissing ourselves.
We can't remember we got a raise because we got choked the night before. There has been the popularization of a sex act that can damage our brains, impair intellectual functioning, undermine mental health, even kill us. Non-fatal strangulation, one of the most significant indicators that a man will murder his female partner.
Ooh.
Strangulation is also one of the most common methods used for doing so, has somehow been eroticized and made consensual, at least consensual enough. Yet the outcomes are largely the same. Women's brains and bodies don't distinguish whether they are being harmed out of hate or out of love. Single tear. Damn. Aww. By now, I'm guessing that parents are curled under their chairs in a fetal position, or perhaps thinking, no, not my kid. See? Title of Dr. Herbernick's book above, which, by the way, contains an entire chapter on how to talk to your teen about rough sex. And I got to be honest, nothing would make me want to have rough sex less than if my mom sat me down and talked to me about it. So it is working already.
Yeah, so let's talk to those kids.
I get it. It's scary stuff. Dr. Herbernick is worried. I am too. And we are hardly some anti-sex wait till marriage crusaders. But I don't think our only option is to wring our hands over what young people are doing. Parents should take a beat and consider how they might give their children relevant information in a way that they can hear it. Maybe reiterate that they want them to have a pleasurable sex life. You have already said that, right? And also want them to be safe. Tell them that misinformation about certain practices, including choking, is rampant, that in reality it has grave health consequences. Plus, whether or not a partner initially requested it, if things go wrong, you're generally criminally on the hook. Dr. Herbernick suggests reminding them that there are other lower risk ways to be exploratory or adventurous if that is what they are after, but it would be wisest to delay any rough sex until they are older and more skilled at communicating. She offers language when negotiating with a new partner, such as, by the way, I'm not comfortable with choking or other escalating behaviors such as name calling, spitting, and genital slapping. So please, don't do it / don't ask me to do it to you. They could also add what they are into and want to do together. I'd like to point high school health teachers to evidence-based porn literacy curricula, but I realize that incorporating such lessons into their classrooms could cost them their jobs. Shafia Zaloom, a lecturer at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, recommends, if that's the case, grounding discussions in mainstream and social media. There are plenty of opportunities. You can use it to deconstruct gender norms, power dynamics in relationships, performative trends that don't represent most people's healthy behaviors, she said, especially depictions of people putting pressure on someone's neck or chest. I also know that pediatricians, like other adults, struggle when talking to adolescents about sex. The typical conversation, if it happens, lasts 40 seconds. Then again, they already caution younger children to use a helmet when they ride a bike because heads and necks are delicate. They can mention that teens might hear about things people do in sexual situations, including choking, then explain the impact on brain health and why such behavior is best avoided. They should emphasize that if for any reason, a fall, a sports mishap, or anything else, wink, wink, a young person develops symptoms of head trauma, they should come in immediately, no judgment, for help in healing. The role and responsibility of the entertainment industry is a tangled knot. Media reflects behavior, but also drives it. One of my favorite topics, either expanding possibilities or increasing risks. There is precedent for accountability. The European Union now requires age verification on the world's largest porn sites in ways that preserves user privacy.
You just got to go, yes, I'm over 18, though.
I know.
I mean, that's not doing shit.
No, it's not.
It's not doing absolute jack shit, but okay.
In ways that preserve user privacy, whatever that means on the internet. That discussion, unsurprisingly, has been politicized here. Social media platforms have already been pushed to ban content promoting eating disorders, self-harm, and suicide. They should likewise be pressured to ban content promoting choking. Traditional formats can stop glamorizing strangulation, making light of it, spreading false information, using it to signal female characters' complexity or sexual awakening. Young people's sexual scripts are shaped by what they watch, scroll by, and listen to. Unprecedentedly so. They deserve and desperately need models of interactions that are respectful, communicative, mutual, and at the very least safe. So Peggy Orenstein is the author of Boys and Sex, Young Men on Hookups, Love, Porn, Consent, and Navigating the New Masculinity, and Girls and Sex, Navigating the Complicated New Landscape. So yes, greetings from the Fisher family group chat, everyone. That's what we were talking about this week. It was also funny because my mom was like, my word, I don't even know about strangling and sex. And then me and my brother, I don't know a lot. I don't know what my brother's doing, and I try not to talk about him a lot on this podcast because I know he likes to remain a pretty private person. But your girl loves choking. She loves I love choking. I love being choked. But yeah, I mean, it's really, there's so little in this life to look forward to. And now,
yeah,
you
can look forward to forgetting you got a raise and pissing yourself in the car.
Yeah, this seems extreme though. Yeah, it's not fun it's not fun.
Also, like if you're doing it right, you're not actually getting choked. Like it's you're not.
It just seems though, like I guess so. Yeah, I mean. The time, if we're talking about like choking, the times I've actually gotten cloudy, that's like once or twice.
Yeah.
So we're still in that under 5, I guess, for the cloudiness.
Yay.
Uh-oh. Anyway.
Fascinating. I'd be curious if there's any listeners, younger listeners here who like, if there's any male teenage listeners that do this, that listen, I'm very curious where, I assume you're getting this from porn, but Are you? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Where are you getting it from?
Just so you know, like not finding the clit is annoying. Choking someone the wrong way can kill them.
Much more annoying.
So just go ahead and on not finding the clit. Maybe concentrate on that until you're, in your mid 20s.
Yeah. This person found the clit way early.
Yeah,
I feel
did.
like he's never not found the clit.
Yeah, he did.
There's no way he's
the
never
clit
not
is
found
him, and he is the clit.
Yeah, honestly, he's a hip hop artist, star, legend. He's a rapper from the Bronx. You've seen him on VH1's Love and Hip Hop. And from the rap duo Lord Tariq and Peter Gunz. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome legend Peter Gunz.